Tonight on Y News. President Rodrigo Duterte departs for an official visit to Russia. The government delegation targets cooperations on defense, security, and trade with a former Soviet country. The GRP-NDF Peace Panel sets to discuss the issue on national industrialization on the 5th round of talks beginning Saturday. Over 3,000 board passers take their oath today as new lawyers.
The Makabayan Bloc withdraws support to the proposed tax reform package. The trial is set for the graft and plunder cases against Senator Jinggoy Estrada and Janet Lim Napoles over the pork barrel scam. And the LTFRB warns to cancel the franchise of transport groups joining the protest against jeepney modernization.
Y News begins now.
From the UNTV News and Rescue Command Center, this is Y News with Angelo Castro III and Darlene Basingan.
Good evening. The government and the National Democratic Front Peace Panel sets to discuss the issue on national industrialization, the most difficult area of negotiation, as the peace talk resumes on Saturday. Rosalie Cos will tell us why.
The government and the National Democratic Front peace panels have gone far in their negotiations. The 5th round is set on May 27 to June 1 in the Netherlands.
The center of the peace talks will be the Comprehensive Agreement on Social and Economic Reforms, or CASER. The chairman of Government Reciprocal Working Committee, Roberto Ador, said the most difficult issue to be discussed under CASER will be the national industrialization, which is at the initial stage of discussions. Further discussions and study are expected to be done by both panels regarding this issue.
Medyo mahirap yung sa industrialization because the position ng kabila ay i-nationalize yung mga industries, at least dun sa papel.
In regard to national industrialization, discussions have only been at the initial stage. Especially as the GRP panel stated that much preparation still have to be made.
The leftists also said lasting ceasefire between the military and New People's Army Force is difficult to attain if there are no agreements signed between the two peace panels.
Hindi pa tapos yung peace talks. Yung NPA, CPP, NPA, they will continue with what they are doing. Hindi pwedeng kontrolin yan ng Ngayon, they have their own agenda and they have their own dynamics.
Meanwhile, the government is targeting to distribute around 200 hectares of land among farmers under the land reform in 2017. This is under the CASER, which is the foundation of the peace talks between the GPH and NDF Peace Panel. Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Members of the Inter-Parliamentary Union Human Rights Committee met with Senate President Coco Pimentel today. The group's visit to the Philippines is part of their fact-finding mission to check on the case of Senator Leila de Lima, who is currently detained over her alleged involvement in illegal drug trade. The IPU delegation plans to talk to other government officials regarding the matter.
We will also meet other relevant officials to get first-hand information because her case was presented in the IPU assembly.
For his part, the Senate President expresses his respect over IPU's decision.
They are the ones concerned with Senator de Lima, so let them do their job.
President Rodrigo Duterte officially renames the Benham Rice region to Philippine Rice. Through Executive Order or EO number 25, he signed last May 16, 2017. The move aims to emphasize the sovereign rights of the Philippines over the said undersea feature. The Philippine Rice is 24 million hectares wide and is considered as part of the exclusive economic zone and continental shelf of the Philippines based on international law. With the EO25, the name Philippine Rice will be used in all local, international maps and charts. The Department of Foreign Affairs will coordinate the changes with the National Mapping and Resource Information Authority, the agency responsible for delivering such information to all concerned international organizations. The DENR and BFAR will conduct a joint assessment in possible areas in the Philippine Rice as the government plans to set up structures in the area. Ray Pelayo will tell us why.
The Biodiversity Management Bureau or BMB of the DENR sees no problem in the plan of the Department of Agriculture to set up structures in the Philippine Rice. Director Teresa Mundita Lim says the government has to take into consideration the areas where to build the structures and how to avoid affecting its maritime ecosystem.
For as long as considered yon doon sa design ng whatever infrastructure na isa-set up doon, at closely working with our biodiversity experts yung magde-design nun, hindi naman namin nakikita na magkakaroon ng problema.
The government with some non-government organizations conducted an exploration last year in the then Benham Rice. They saw layers of corals in the Benham Bank or the shallowest part of the area. It was also found that it has a huge potential to breed huge fish like tuna.
Siyempre, ang primary interest natin is ma-retain yung magandang quality ng marine ecosystem kasi yun din ang makakabuti sa pagpadami ng ating fisheries dun sa area.
Senator Lauren Legarda of the Senate Committee on Climate Change meanwhile says she will continue allocating funds for the study of marine wealth in the area.
Benham rice is very valuable in terms of the marine wealth.
Meanwhile, the executive order changing the name Benham Rice to Philippine Rice has already been released. The DA says it would send a strong signal to other countries that the Philippines has the only jurisdiction over the area. Ray Pelayo, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Foreign Affairs Secretary Alan Peter Cayetano clarifies last week's talks between leaders of China and the Philippines. The secretary says there is no reason to worry about the alleged war threat from China. Rosalie Cos will tell us why.
Foreign Affairs Secretary Alan Peter Cayetano would not disclose more details of the Beijing meeting between President Rodrigo Duterte and Chinese President Xi Jinping. But Cayetano maintained the discussion between the two leaders was frank and friendly, with no threats or bullying. Cayetano adds the two had the kind of relationship in which they could openly discuss preventing maritime conflict.
My interpretation in the meeting is that there was no bullying or pushing around, or it wasn't a threat in the sense na Pilipinas, pag hindi mo to ginawa, eto, or China, pag hindi mo to ginawa. It was more that the threat of conflict will always be there if we do not dialogue.
It can be recalled that President Duterte, in a televised speech on Friday, said that she warned him there would be war if he tried to explore for oil in a stretch of the sea that both countries claim.
So there was no language or even tone that would lead any of the two presidents to believe that there was disrespect for them or their country. It is but natural that when you talk about peace, and when you talk about conflict, the word war may come up.
China has yet to respond to Duterte, revealing contents of the meeting. Early on Monday, about a dozen student activists protested outside the Chinese consulate in Makati against the threats to the Philippines. The group urges the president to take diplomatic actions against Beijing.
Kondinahin ang patuloy na panghihimasok ng China at US sa teritoryo ng bansa at higit lalo ang bantang gera ng China. Nananawagan ng mga kabataan ngayon na ngayon ang panahon para tumindig, ipagtanggol ang soberanya at teritoryo ng bansa, ipagtanggol ang inambayan laban sa mga imperialistang mananakop.
Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Several senators are worried over Chinese President Xi Jinping's alleged threat of war once the Philippines insists on pushing for an arbitral ruling that recognizes the rights of the country over the West Philippine Sea. Nel Marie Buhok will tell us why.
Liberal Party Senator Bam Aquino wants the Senate to look into the details of the independent foreign policy of the Duterte administration. This is following the alleged threat of Chinese President Xi Jinping to President Rodrigo Duterte that a war might erupt between the Philippines and China. President Duterte claims President Xi Jinping allegedly says a war might occur if the Philippines will enforce the 2016 international arbitration decision on the issue on the South China Sea.
Well, nakakabahala talaga yun pag isang head of state nagsabi na baka girahin tayo. That's really very troublesome. Hinahanap natin yung totoong detalye ng independent foreign policy ng administrasyon.
Senator Panfilo Lacson is also worried over the said statement of the Chinese president. Lacson says he is in favor of the proposal of Supreme Court Associate Justice Antonio Carpio to bring the issue anew to the arbitral tribunal.
The matter should be brought to the attention of the United Nations. After all, we're basing our claim those arbitral ruling,
But Senator Richard Gordon says it is too early to file a diplomatic protest against China in line with the said issue.
I think that's premature. We are a friend to China. They are a big neighbor.
Malacanang has once again assured that it will not give up the fight for the territorial rights of the country alongside its continued pursuance of peace in the disputed region.
Some senators also believe with the continuous dialogue with China, the issue on maritime dispute would be resolved in a peaceful manner. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue, Senate of the Philippines.
President Rodrigo Duterte is expected to arrive at 10 in the evening local time in Russia, or about 3 in the morning tomorrow in the Philippines. The government has high hopes that the president's visit would enhance the bilateral relations of the two nations. Victor Posada is in Moscow, Russia to tell us why, live. Yes, Victor, go ahead.
Darlene, President Rodrigo Duterte is expected to arrive here in Russia tonight for his 4-day official visit, where he will be meeting Russian Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev and Russian President Vladimir Putin. The president has no official engagement tomorrow, but he has a busy schedule from Wednesday until Friday. Duterte and Medvedev's bilateral meeting is set on Wednesday, and the two are expected to discuss a number of cooperations, including trade and economy. Also on Wednesday, President Duterte will be conferred with an honorary doctorate degree by the Moscow State Institute of International Relations. In the said event, the Philippine president will also address the body, where he is expected to talk about his administration's goal of pursuing an independent foreign policy and his suggestions on how to achieve peace and security in the Asia-Pacific region. On Thursday, President Duterte is set to meet President Vladimir Putin. The two leaders will discuss political, military, and defense cooperation matters. They will also witness the signing of several agreements, including the Treaty on Extradition, Treaty on Mutual Legal Assistance in Criminal Matters, Memorandum of Understanding between the National Security Councils of the two nations, and also an agreement on defense, military, and technical cooperation. The Department of Foreign Affairs says the agreement on military cooperation might include the possibility of the Philippines buying arms in Russia for its security forces. On Thursday, the chief executive will also address the Filipino community. Aside from the members of his cabinet, part of the president's delegation are Filipino businessmen who will meet with their Russian counterparts to discuss business opportunities in the Philippines. The president's official schedule is until May 26. Darlene, the DFA is also optimistic that the president's visit here in Russia would further strengthen the 40-year-old bilateral relations between the two nations. Meanwhile, on the issue if the president will accept the honorary doctorate degree that will be conferred to him, there is no certainty yet, but if he does, it will be the first for President Duterte as president and second for the Philippines after President Ramos. And that's the latest live here from Russia. Back to you, Darlene.
Thank you, Victor. And that's Victor Posada reporting live from Moscow, Russia. The Land Transportation, Franchising and Regulatory Board has once again warned transport groups of possible revocation of their franchise. Joanano will tell us why.
The Land Transportation, Franchising and Regulatory Board, or LTFRB, maintains that it is the only agency with the authority to give and to revoke the franchise of all public utility vehicles. The LTFRB made the statement following the repeated protests conducted by Piston and No to Jeepney Face-Out Coalition against the plan of the government to implement a jeepney modernization program. The agency clarifies it could not coerce the transport groups to agree to the programs of the government, but it warns them of possible franchise revocation if they will continue holding protests against the modernization program.
Who regulates who? We are for the greater majority. We are for the riding public. If you are a franchise holder, there has to be a sense of regulation. Bawal ho ang to cease operations or to protest as a sign of protest to any government decision or project po. Itong ginagawa nila.
The LTFRB says the moment President Duterte signs the omnibus franchising guidelines, the implementation of the modernization program might begin in June. Several transport groups, however, insist that instead of modernizing jeepney units, the government should just allow them to rehabilitate it. Piston says rehabilitating a jeepney would only cost a driver 100,000 pesos. This is a far cry from the 1.6 million peso worth hybrid jeepney unit the government plans to replace all jeepney units with.
Hindi po namin kakayanin yan unless ibabaon nila kami sa utang. Ang mabisang malaking epekto nito, kapag ito ang pumalit sa kasalukuyan natin mga jeepney, magre-resulta po yan sa mataas na pamasahe.
In a protest caravan earlier, the LTFRB discovered 11 jeepney units that are out of line or without special permits. The agency will summon the drivers and operators of the said unit to have them explain why their franchises should not be revoked. The LTFRB has once again called on several transport groups to understand what it says as the good objective of the modernization program of the government, which is aimed at improving the system of transportation in the country. Joan Nano, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
The Land Transportation, Franchising and Regulatory Board is set to release guidelines for public utility drivers about the proper placement of signages in their vehicles. Joan Nano is back to tell us why.
LTFRB consulted the Automobile Association of the Philippines to determine the proper placement of signboards for public utility vehicles so as to avoid distractions while driving.
Para ho guidance, one signboard sa right side down. Kasi ang iba, marami na hong signboard na ang mukha na lang ang driver ang nakikita mo sa gitna.
Aside from this, the LTFRB clarifies the issue on the prohibition of placing sacred symbols in their vehicles.
Hindi ho natin sinasabi bawal ang sacred symbols inside the car. Ang sinasabi lang ho natin, yung sacred symbols like the other religious articles, just put it somewhere near you, but not just clear your line of sight. We are not saying bawal siya sa car. It has been taken out of context. What we are saying is just clear your line of sight.
Meanwhile, several lawmakers want to scrutinize the implementing rules and regulations of the said policy. Some senators say it seems that the real intention of the law has been lost.
Baka ang panawagan ko, i-review muna natin siguro yung IRR kasi parang ang nangyayari every day ata pabago-bago yung interpretation.
Nakakalito. Marami ring enforcers, tingin ko hindi rin nila alam kung ano ini-implement nila.
Majority Floor Leader Senator Tito Soto meanwhile wants to postpone the implementation of the law.
I'm about to call the attention of the Committee on Public Services of the Senate and if possible call for a ceasefire or a halt in the implementation of the anti-distracted driving law.
The LTFRB has initially said it is studying the possibility of suspending the implementation of the law and to prioritize the conduct of a 3-month information drive for motorists. Traffic law enforcement agencies will meet again tomorrow to review several regulations of the anti-distracted driving law. Joan Nano, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Over 3,000 new lawyers who passed the 2016 bar exams have taken their oath today. Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno urged them to serve the provinces. Rajel Adora will tell us why.
The Supreme Court today held a special en-banc session at the SM Mall of Asia Arena in Pasay City for the oath-taking of the 2016 bar exam passers. 3,747 new lawyers take their oath before the justices. This is the biggest batch of new lawyers with 59% passing percentage, one of the highest in the history of the bar exams. A new record was also made because for the first time, all the top 10 pastors came graduated from law schools in the provinces. Justice Bienvenido Reyes reminded the new lawyers to always keep their oath.
Lead honest and honorable lives and maintain the dignity of the profession.
In her message, Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno asked the new lawyers to support the reforms initiated by the High Court. She persuades them to render service in the provinces and help bring justice to all Filipinos, particularly in the areas which are historically underserved.
Remember your roots. Choose to serve where the need is greatest. We need lawyers who will not back down from serving the rule of law even at great personal cost. We need lawyers who will not bend to pressures to set the law aside in favor of expediency.
Sereno also hinted at modifying the bar exams in response to the need for greater access to justice, especially in remote areas of the country. Rogel Adora, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
The graft case against Senator Jinggoy Estrada and Janet Napoles, in line with the pork barrel scam, is set to begin in September. Early this morning, the Sandiganbayan 5th Division has concluded the pre-trial of the case after the defense and prosecution sides agree on documentary evidences. The court has set the trial on the graft case on September 4, while the plunder case against the two will be heard on June 19. The case stemmed when Estrada allegedly amassed more than 183 million pesos kickback from his pork barrel fund.
The lawmakers tagged as Magnificent Seven visited Senator Leila de Lima at the PNP Custodial Center today. Grace Casin will tell us why.
Senator Leila de Lima's visitor today discussed with her several issues like her request to attend sessions in the Senate. The visiting lawmakers are part of the minority group in the House of Representatives. Caloocan Representative Eka Erice says Senator de Lima trusts that Senator Coco Pimentel will help her be allowed to attend sessions in the Senate.
Bilang ama ng Senado, na mapagbigyan yung request niya na tuwing may importante lang naman na issue, hindi yung araw-araw na importante mapayagan siya na kaboto sa mga, for example, mga death penalty, mga ganong issues, tax reform.
The lawmaker says he sees nothing wrong with the request of the senator.
That's also the right of a sitting senator, and even the Senate can take cognizance of that, but again, it's the decision of the Senate President.
De Lima sent a letter last May 11 to Pimentel asking for support and assurance that her request will be granted as his co-senator and election client. Meanwhile, Justice Secretary Vitaliano Aguirre II maintains that De Lima cannot be allowed to attend the Senate sessions because he is detained for an illegal drug case. Aguirre is determined to block it should the Senate decides otherwise. Meanwhile, Pimentel leaves the decision to the court, citing that the senator cannot vote when he or she is not physically present in the plenary.
Pagtingin natin, nasa rules, physical presence, nasa jurisprudence, that detention says that you accept the reality that if you are detained, you cannot do some things. So, tingnan na natin. Pero alam mo, through motions, the court or the courts can be convinced of having a new way of looking at a circumstance.
Grace Casin, UNTV News and Rescue, Camp Crame.
The House Committee on Justice has formally dismissed the impeachment complaint filed against President Rodrigo Duterte. In a hearing earlier, no lawmaker voted against the committee report, which says the complaint filed by Magdalo Party List Representative Gerry Alejano is insufficient in substance but sufficient in form. The committee has once again insisted that the complaint has no basis, as Alejano has no personal knowledge on his allegations. Alejano's allegations include betrayal of public trust, bribery, culpable violation of the Constitution, graft and corruption, and other high crimes. The said report will be filed before the Committee on Rules and might be brought to the plenary in the coming days.
Just this morning, we already have
approved unanimously the report.
The Makabayan bloc from the House of Representatives will no longer support the proposed tax reform package being pushed in the House of Representatives. Joyce Balancho will tell us why.
Members of Bayan Muna Party List held a protest outside the House of Representatives this morning to express dissent to the proposed tax reform package being pushed in the lower chamber. Party List Representative Carlos Zarate says while he is a co-author of the bill, the Makabayan bloc will be withdrawing support because of some provisions that are anti-poor. Particularly, he mentioned the proposed added 12% value-added tax to rent that are amounting to less than 10,000 pesos a month. For example, a 9,000 pesos monthly fee will be taxed with additional 1,080 pesos, and for a year, that will total to more than 12,000 pesos.
Huwag gawing isang pakete, no? Ang lumalabas kasi rito parang na-hostage ka dahil naisama naman yung magandang feature doon sa tax reform.
Congressman Zarate also opposes added tax to petroleum products and LPG, for it will also affect the prices of commodities.
Dapat kolektahin ng gobyerno at hindi magpataw ng panibagong buwis sa overtax and overburden, especially yung ating mga consumers, no?
Aside from Bayan Muna, the cooperative sector has also expressed disagreement to provisions of the package, especially that it proposes removal of tax exemptions to cooperatives.
Kung mawawala yan, definitely, particularly sa mga credit co-op, hindi sila isa-subject to but they will be imposed GRT. No? There will be an increase doon sa interest ng kanilang pag-utang na maaaring umabot hanggang 5 to 6%.
For his part, Ways and Means Committee Vice Chair Congressman Joey Salcedo argues that removing tax from petroleum products may not be possible given its intention to generate revenue from the richest citizens.
The biggest strategic fault line in our economy is the inability of the government to collect the correct taxes or the correct contribution of the rich to nation building.
Congressman Salcedo defends that while they are proposing added taxes, they also plan to implement a social benefits card that will balance the social status of individuals and their capacity to pay taxes.
Sa petroleum taxes, yung lowest 50% po, halos lowest 80% po, magkakaroon po ng mga direct income transfer na aabot po ng 600 pesos per month para po halos ito po ay triple nung pwedeng tama sa kanila sa mga pang-araw-araw na gastos nila doon sa kanilang ang tama po ng pagtaas po ng petroleum doon po sa kanilang mga gastusin.
Today is the last day for the submission of the proposed amendments to the tax reform package. Ways and Means Committee Chair Congressman Dakila Carlocua will be sponsoring the measure tomorrow on the plenary floor, where debates is also expected to begin. Joyce Balancho, UNTV News and Rescue, House of Representatives.
The Sandigan Bayan 4th Division allows sibling Senator Sherwin and Congressman Wesley Gatchalian to travel abroad. The Gatchalian brothers are part of the delegation of President Rodrigo Duterte in his visit to Moscow, Russia. Afterwards, Congressman Wesley Gatchalian will head to Toronto, Canada with his family for a vacation from June 4 to 18. The Gatchalian brothers are facing charges of graft, malversation, and violations of the manual regulations of bank. This stemmed from the alleged transfer of the local water utilities administration of 780 million peso public fund to a bank owned by the Gatchalian family.
The Bureau of Customs Enforcement Group confiscated 5 boxes of disassembled cell phones and chargers at the NAIA Terminal 2 today. The contrabands are estimated to be worth 880,000 pesos. The said boxes were allegedly brought by foreign nationals Lau Alik Han Unos and Haji Unis Saaduddin, who both arrived from Guangzhou, China via flight PR383 last May 5. An X-ray inspection unit detected the contrabands inside the boxes. BOC says the 2 foreigners failed to present documents and permits for the items from the National Telecommunications Commission. This prompted the BOC to issue a warrant of seizure and detain the foreigners. The 5 boxes containing cell phones and chargers are now in the custody of the BOC.
UNTV Cup fans were ecstatic as the League of Public Servants officially opens. Leslie Longbowen will tell us why.
UNTV Cup supporters were very much excited to cheer for their favorite teams.
Yung PNP po, this coming championship, sana makuha ulit nila yung title ng champion.
Message ko lang po sa Team BOC, just enjoy the game and give the best all you can.
Po yung AFP Cavaliers, ang message ko po sa kanila, go go go, and pagpatuloy nila yung legacy nila dati na naging champion sila, sana maulit-ulit yung sa executive nila ngayon.
After 13 teams joined the hardcourt action last UNTV Cup Season 5, this time it's the executive officials aged 40 and above from different teams joining the UNTV Cup off-season game executive face-off. Yesterday, the 6 joining teams were formally introduced. These are PNP Responders, BOC Transformers, Senate Sentinels, AFP Cavaliers, DOJ Justice Boosters, and Judiciary Magis.
Well, napakaganda nito, no? This is one way of fostering camaraderie and of course unity and cooperation among the agencies of the government.
Very busy po ang mga different offices ng government at ito po ang pinakamagandang venue for us to mingle, to bond, to see each other and to talk with each other, lalo ng mga public servant.
And as always, since its first season, UNTV Cup aims to fulfill its advocacy of helping those in need.
Una, papasalamat tayo sa Panginoon at sa lahat ng mga nag-participate. Kagaya ng dati, ito pa rin yung pagpapatuloy ng ating public service na ginagawa. Each team, meron pa rin silang kanya-kanya nilang mga beneficiary na makakatanggap noong mga mapapanalunan nila. So, this is still for charity and this is still for public service.
Leslie Longbowen, UNTV News and Rescue, Pasig City.
Cavaliers and DOJ Justice Boosters dominated the hard court on Sunday's opening of the UNTV Cup off-season game. Bernard Daddies will tell us why.
Ball fake, sidestep, basket. Very nice play.
The AFP Cavaliers upset the Senate Sentinels as the UNTV Cup off-season executive face-off kicked off at Pasig City Sports Center yesterday with scores 88-69. Senator Joel Villanueva led the Sentinels. The team led by 6 points in the first quarter, 18-12. The Senators dominated the game from second to third quarter, but the AFP Cavaliers began to catch up. The Sentinels was stuck at 69 points from the last 4 minutes and 16 seconds of the ball game until the final buzzer of the ball game went off.
Yung game plan talaga namin, takbuhan, bilisan namin yung game. Nung first half kasi, medyo tinago namin yung trap eh. Sabi ko, pag hindi kailangan, hindi natin gagawin. Pero nung nilamangan na kami ng malaki, sabi ko, pinagandaan natin, gawin natin.
Brigadier General Hener del Rosario was hailed as the best player of the game as he bucketed 20 points, grabbed 6 rebounds, and made 2 steals.
Yun ang sinabi sa amin ng coaching staff, yung sinabi niya, running game tayo, malakas ang resistensya natin, busy kung kaya ng tapatan tayo ng kabila. So nakita naman, hindi masyado silang nakatapat, nalamangan na namin ng fourth quarter.
It seems like winning a championship match for the DOJ Justice Boosters as they won in a neck-and-neck battle against the Judiciary Magis with final scores 56-50. The DOJ team was led by Lipa City OIC City Prosecutor Nonelon Tagalikod, who made 12 points, 4 assists, 6 steals, and 1 block, so he was hailed as the best player of the game. Meanwhile, Court Administrator Jose Maidas Marquez and Florida Blanca Pampanga Presiding Judge Wendell Ramitere made a combined 30 points for the Judiciary team. For the DOJ, the win is very important for the team.
Sumusunod, kahit mga bossing sumusunod sila. Kung ano sinabi ko, yun ang ginagawa nila. Siguro nanalo kami dahil mahirap kalaban ng Judiciary eh. Malalakas sila, magagaling. So hopefully, sa mga susunod na game, mas maganda pa ipakita ng DOJ.
On Sunday, the 6 teams will battle again as the elimination round continues at 2 p.m. at Pasig City Sports Center. Bernard Daddy's UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Those are the reasons behind the news, May 22, 2017. I'm Angelo Castro III.
Reasons we delivered to you as they unfold. I'm Darlene Basingan.
Because we need to know, we will always ask why. Thank you for watching. Why News.